going on, y'all? We had a great weekend going up to Windrock and doing some crawling, some off-roading, a little bit of four-wheeling. And I just wanted to make sure that I made this video for y'all because I don't want you to get the wrong idea and end up tearing something up or not be prepared for going and doing things like that. All right. Now, I pride myself on taking a stock four-wheel drive truck with mud tires and going and doing a lot of things. And I've done a lot with regular trucks. I've had bigger trucks. I've had some jacked up K10s, and you can do a lot of those trails with that. But there's always going to be, when you go to these rock parks, they've got labels on the trails and there's things on your map, and you need to pay attention to where you're going, because a lot of times once you start going on a trail, you can't turn around. You have to try to continue on. All right, and there's things you need to do. Number one, if you don't have a vehicle that you can tear up, then don't go. All right, the place we went, you could rent a side-by-side for $300 for a day. Now, you got to have $1,000 deposit for if you tear it up, because it can go up to $1,000 for their, I guess, their insurance deductible. If you don't tear it up, it's $300 a day. All right, now we bumped into people that had flat tires. We got our air compressor out and aired up their tire. They actually had gashes in the sides of their tire to where they were losing more air than the air pressure would, than we could put in it. It just, the leak was so bad that we couldn't put air in faster than it was coming out. We couldn't plug the leak. All right, so there's things you need to have when you do this. You need to have at least one spare tire, okay? You need to have a plug kit for when you can actually plug those tires. All right, and that's just, no matter what you have, you need to have an air compressor. You need to have some tools. I mean, you need to be prepared for what you're going to do. If you're going to try and take a regular vehicle in there, I recommend that you trailer it to where if you do tear it up, you can bring it back home on something else. All right, because there's no telling what you might do. We've got a friend that's got bigger Jeeps than the one that we were in, and he ended up tearing off one of his leaf springs. So, I mean, you need to be able to trailer that stuff back if you're going to try and do that, and do especially the harder trails. The trails that we did, you can take a Jeep. I mean, you seen the red Jeep. It's not lifted, but it does have lockers. Lockers count for a lot. And the smaller Jeeps, you can fit around things and in between things. As you get bigger tires and get bigger, that really limits you on your maneuverability. All right, and then if you've got a truck instead of like a little short wheelbase Jeep, then that limits you on your maneuverability as well. And the longer it is, the harder it is to go around some of these rocks without getting high centered. And you can rip out everything under your truck on these rocks. I mean, your Jeep, your truck, your side-by-side, you can ruin one of these by picking the wrong path. All right, so there's a lot of things that you need to have. And I advise, if you haven't done this, then you go and you do the easier trails and you gradually work to harder stuff, and you might need to rent something instead of tearing up something that you have until you get good at it. And now there's a lot of that is actually like gravel roads, and you can park and watch people do other things, or you can ride with a friend that has more knowledge about it. But you definitely don't want to expect the best. Whenever you go to these off-road parks, you want to expect the worst. That way, when everything goes good, that's great, and if anything goes bad, you're prepared for that. All right, you need to have tools. You need to have an impact wrench. A lot of these guys have welding equipment. A lot of these guys have extra drive shafts. A lot of these guys have a lot of extra parts that they know that there's a risk of them having to replace while they're on trail. And it is expensive to get somebody else to come in there and fix something for you. So you need to be prepared to fix it yourself, or you need to just rent something from the place that you're doing that. All these places pretty much will rent you side by side. Some of them even rent Jeeps and things for you to try. Some of them even do courses teaching you how to off-road. I know they were doing that down at Indian Mountain, down at Gulches Off-Road, down in around Waterloo, South Carolina. I know they actually had a course where they taught you how to do that, and they sent a guide with you. Windrock, I don't know if they do the guided things, but you don't want to go off into these things unprepared. And I don't want you to watch this channel and think, oh, I'm gonna go do that and it's gonna be so much fun, because if you make a mistake and you tear up your vehicle, then it takes the fun out of the equation. Okay, the fun's over once you tear something up bad. So yeah, just when you watch these, it is great to watch them. It is fun to watch. It's a lot more fun to actually go do it, but you need to be prepared for anything that might happen when you're doing these. And like I said, a lot of these trails, even the Jeep that we were in had like 35-inch tires on it. I'm not sure if it was locked or not. I know it did really well. There was 2 times where we actually bottomed out on rocks. Once we had to stop and back up, hit it. Another time we were going downhill, so it just kind of bonked, and then we came off of it. But I mean, you need to have a winch, or somebody with you have a winch. But it's better if you have one, because if they're behind you, they may not be able to get around in front of you and winch. And to continue on up the trail, you need to be able to go forwards. So having friends that go do that with you, that helps out a whole lot. If you're doing it by yourself, you better be prepared to do everything that you need done by yourself. All right, and winching, that's not a simple thing. You have to have a safe point to winch to. You need to think of your line when you're winching. A lot of people get hurt winching. You could have something break, something come loose, and that's a lot of pressure. And there's a high degree of danger in doing that when you don't know what you're doing. And there's still a degree of danger doing that when you do know what you're doing. You can have an equipment failure at any time with anything like that. All right, so have fun watching the videos, and we've got our better videos are actually coming up. We'll have those out in a week or two for y'all. We're trying to edit those. I've got a friend working on them for me right now that's a lot more technological than I am. And but yeah, I mean, you can see the trails that we went on, and all the trails are numbered, and you can read them on a map. You can tell what you're kind of going to get into. And then the weather also plays a big role in the condition of these trails. If they're dry, sometimes they're easier. Sometimes they're easier if they're wet. We had a lot of times where the creek was coming down the road a lot, and we were driving up wet, slick rocks. But then some of our friends were there before that, whenever there was more rain, and they said it actually made some of the trails a little bit easier. But the extra water, that's pretty rare. Usually the wetter it is, the harder it is to get traction, and the harder it is to go up these trails. It just makes it harder to get grip on these rocks and things. But I wanted to make sure that with y'all watching this video, these videos on my channel, that you didn't go out and get into something that you regretted doing, okay? So you need to, I would advise renting something from one of these places and talking to the people at the parks, asking them what trails are easier, and slowly graduate up to that. Like I said, I've got the truck we're in right now. It's got lockers and mud tires and all that on it, but it's long. It's a full-size Chevrolet truck. I cannot take that up 75% of those trails probably without really tearing it up. If I did, I'd end up tearing some stuff up. I mean, you really need to have a vehicle that's equipped to deal with this. And then some of the trails, you'll have to have a serious rock crawler to even start to try. I mean, it's just, you can't take even a rig that you're renting from these people and go in there and do everything, because they're going to have some things that are for the real rock crawlers that, you know, they're really set up for these things. But I wanted to get this video out to y'all. I want to make sure that you're prepared for everything. You know, watch it a lot, study it a lot, and talk to the people that you're planning on going to these places. Call them ahead of time. Ask them, hey, when's it busier? You know, what trails are easier? And I guarantee you can go on YouTube and look at some videos of different trails. We're going to be posting some videos, some full videos. The ones I put up already were just the ones I did with my cell phone. Whenever we were in thicker more difficult stuff, I wasn't out with my cell phone. I was holding on, and me and my friend were communicating, trying to, you know, pick the best line and things like that, and watching these other guys. And it's definitely, it's not something that you need to be trying to video with your cell phone while you're doing it. You'll end up making a mistake and getting hurt. You can flip your vehicle over. It's just, there's a lot that can go wrong. But I want y'all, if you do decide to do these things, I want you to be safe. I want you to plan ahead. And if you can do it with friends, you're going to have more fun. You're going to be better off. And if something happens, you've got help. Okay? But make sure you've got winch. Make sure you've got air compressors to air up tires. Make sure you've got spare tires. Make sure that if it's your vehicle, you've got a couple parts for that vehicle that are known to fail and have to be replaced. And if you don't know that, then look it up, and there'll be forums for your vehicle that say what you need to have extra for doing things like this. But y'all, I hope that this has been helpful, and it keeps anybody from getting into a situation they're not prepared to be in. But get out there and have fun and hit the woods. And if you have not liked and subscribed, please do so. Y'all have a good one. See you. Bye.